A very warm welcome to Wesley Impact Highlights. Today we wrap up our Best of series for 2013. You know, before the wonders of satellite technology, the fulfilment of the Great Commission must have seemed an almost overwhelming task. Today we meet a man who has a heart to spread the gospel in the Middle East and North Africa. Johansen is a director of Sat7, the only Christian TV ministry that transmits the good news with local programming in all the languages of Arabic, Turkish and Farsi. I met up with Kurt at my office at our Wesley Mission headquarters in Sydney during a speaking tour in Australia. Kurt, welcome to Australia.
Thank you.
The dream for you began way back in 1996. Tell us about your work and the 5 channels of Sat7 that you deliver.
Yeah, Sat7 is really a dream come true. It came out of the awareness that in the Middle East, all other ways of doing church work is very difficult. But suddenly, the door was opened for doing something completely new through satellite television. The advent of satellite television changed a lot, and at the moment, more than 300 million in the Middle East have satellite dishes. So if you have a TV station, you can actually reach out to 300 million people. So a lot of people said, that's a good idea, try and do that. But most Christians were worried. It's very difficult, they said. How would you get the money? How would you get the permission to have a local studio? How would you find Christians with a talent for television? How would you find Christians who want their faces to be shown in the public area and so on? But a few people believe so much in this that they started Sat7 with a few hours per week, without any studios, just buying programs here and there. And to make a long story short, we are now on air on 5 channels, each 24 hours a day. We have studios now in Egypt, in Lebanon, in Turkey, in Cyprus and other places.
Let me, at first you talk about buying in programs, but now you make a lot of programs. The bulk of your programs are now have a localized sense to them.
Exactly. We thought in the beginning we should just be a broadcaster, but we could not find Christian Arabic programming in the Middle East. So we found out that we had to produce it ourselves. And I'm happy to say that today we are producing 80% of our broadcasts in the Middle East by ourselves. So our programs are very contextualized, they are very appropriate to this part of the world. They are all produced by Middle East Christians.
And it is a way in which the Christian community can get its message out there.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
It's the only way that they can have a megaphone to the world. This is their voice. This is their way of expressing what is the teaching of the church, what are we doing in the church, and what is the future of the church in the Middle East.
And like all people around the world, we recognise we live in a very multicultural world, but it's a way in which you can address perhaps sometimes questions that people have got in their minds.
Exactly. We can talk about all the taboos, all the forbidden questions. We have a lot of live programs. Almost every day we have between 2 and 4 hours of live programming where the viewers can call in and ask their difficult questions. So we are right on the marketplace talking to real people with real questions.
Dare I ask you, what are some of those really difficult questions that people ask?
There are very difficult questions about the Trinity, about the crucifixion and so on. Also a bit political questions. Many non-Christians have a lot of misunderstandings about Christ and about his church and his followers. So we can talk openly about all these things in these live programming.
The challenges are considerable, and I'm sure that you have to work, and we understand this, under pretty stringent restrictions. How does that work for you?
We can in fact say everything we want. We can present Christ in all his beauty. We can say everything from the Bible. What we don't do, we don't criticize other religions. We're not here to say what we are against. We are here to say what we are for. So we're presenting Christ and his teaching, and we're presenting the local church in all their variety. We're working with all the churches of the Middle East in 19 different countries. And by this we are showing the unity in the diversity of the churches.
And to be fair, that's the approach of Jesus anyway to people. He challenged certainly Jewish ideas from time to time, but it doesn't set out to begin with a negative, but rather a much more positive way of doing things. And how satisfied are you that that message is getting out there?
Well, I'm very, very satisfied. This is the first time in world history where we can actually go to half of the homes in the Middle East at a time that they like to see it without anyone watching them, and we can take the viewers by the hand and lead them through the Bible, lead them through the Christian life. No matter if they are seekers or they are elderly people or they're children or they are women, whatever they are, we have programs for them.
Well, that's lovely. Before we move on, I'm going to just pause there to listen to a song from one of our performers, but we'll be back in just a moment.
I want to shout for your glory, for you have called me to freedom, Jesus. I want to live in your fullness, knowing the joy of your goodness. No other love could be like this, Jesus. In my heart there's a fire, and it burns with a desire to stand tall for you, to speak your truth. I'm living in the crossfire. There will be those who don't listen. There will be times when I'm weakened, but you are stronger than all this, Jesus. So I will put on your armor, knowing that you're my provider. You have prepared me for battle, Jesus. In my heart there's a fire, and it burns with a desire to stand tall for you, to speak your truth. I'm living in the crossfire. The sword of the Spirit, the belt of your truth, the gospel of peace, Lord, your word will endure. Your righteousness strengthens, your faith is my shield, salvation my helmet, your truth will not yield. In my heart there's a fire, and it burns with a desire to stand tall for you, to speak your truth. I'm living in the crossfire. I'm living in the crossfire. I'm living in the crossfire. I'm living in the crossfire.
To commemorate 200 years of faith and pioneering care in Australia, Wesley Mission has released a publication documenting its work in the community.
Everyone needs a little rest. Everyone needs a little joy.
For more information on today's people, today's story, you can contact us on 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
And if you'd like to know more about Liz Cole's music, her details will be online all this week. Now let's go back to the second part of that interview with Sat7's Kurt Johansen. Kurt, during your visit here to Australia, what are the real messages that you're wanting to get out there to people who are perhaps wanting to prayerfully support your ministry?
I'm here to create more awareness about the Middle East and North Africa generally, and also, of course, specifically for SAT7. A lot of people only hear bad news from the Middle East, but I'm here also to tell the good news, that in fact there are Arabic Christians who are very active and who's going out, who are involving themselves in the politics and trying to be light and salt of this difficult part of the world. And we can help them, be their megaphone, their spokesperson, and we can encourage a lot of these young believers who want to change the Arab world for the better. And that's very exciting, and that's what we can do right now.
Now, we hear a lot about people leaving Syria and Lebanon and other places like that. Is that one of the big challenges?
That's right. A lot of the Christians don't see a future in the Middle East and are leaving these years. We know about Iraq, where 75% of the Christians have now left. We know about Egypt, where 200,000 Christians are leaving every year. So there is a kind of exodus of Christians from the region. But we try also to encourage people to stay in the region. It's their calling to stay here. They are born here, and they should try to stay here.
And you had a campaign on your station that picked up that theme, didn't you?
We had a campaign, we still have an ongoing campaign, Stay in Your Country, where a lot of Christians from the region tell their stories. Why they stay. Yes, it is difficult, but this is my land. This is where I'm going to stay.
What are the popular misconceptions that you hinted at a little earlier about the Christian faith in a context where there are many that don't come from a Christian background?
I think many believe that Christians are immoral. They watch a lot of American TV stations and they see American drinking and adultery and so on, and I think that's Christian because America is a Christian country. They also misunderstand what's going on in the church. Men and women are sitting in the same church. They think that's because they're immoral. We also have the communion. They think we are cannibals and so on.
At this time of great uncertainty in the region, particularly for Christians, are there risks in doing the kind of work you do?
There are risks, but the governments of the Middle East are accepting SAT7. They know that we are here to improve the society. They know we are true Arabic. We're not a vehicle of CIA or whatever. Yes. We are true Arabic, and we are here to improve the society.
Currently you have this role of European, the director of the European office. What are the challenges in that role?
The challenges for SAT7 is always to the finance. It's a very costly media. It's very effective, but very costly. So we are inviting a lot of partners, church societies, missions and so on from all over the world to come over and help the Christians of the Middle East.
Yes.
We are extending the Macedonian call, come over and help us, because the Christians are very few and they can't do this on their own. So my job is to encourage more and more missions and churches to come over and help.
And if people look at your website, which we'll make sure is available, they can find ways in which they can help you. What are the plans for the future?
We have a lot of plans. We would like to have a new channel for Iran called SAT7 Pars Kids. There's a lot of kids in Iran who would like to know more about Christianity and learn more. We already have a kids channel in Arabic, but it would be wonderful to have a channel for the kids in Iran. We also need a teaching channel for the new believers in Iran. There are no churches, there are no Bible schools, so we have to teach on air for all the new believers in this country. We also like to do much more for Turkey. We now have a studio in Turkey, but it's quite small, only 13 staff.
In these places where the early Christian church began. It's been lovely to learn a little bit about you, especially to read of the work with children and young people. Kurt, thank you for giving us the time. Have a wonderful stay while you're here in Australia.
Thank you so much.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Reverend Dr. Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
At Wesley Mission, we provide people with disabilities meaningful career opportunities so they can improve their own quality of life. One of our bequest donors paid a visit to Wesley's packaging services in the David Morgan Centre recently to see firsthand all that it's about. Let's take a look together.
Welcome to David Morgan.
Right, thank you.
It's great to have you here. It's fantastic. We always really love to show people what we do here at David Morgan. It's just fantastic work. Been here for over 30 years.
My first contact with Wesley Mission was through my mother. She donated to the Wesley Mission because she believed in it, and I basically followed it on with her.
The type of things we do here are general packaging and pharmaceutical packaging. We do shrink wrapping, labelling, all sorts of different processes that the guys do. We have over 100 people with disabilities work from this centre.
Okay.
We have about 75 from David Morgan, and then we have another 30 people that work in our cleaning crew. The gardening crew, they're doing really, really well.
Initially when I came in with the managers and the supervisors, you can see their dedication. That's what struck me. They're very, very grateful to have a job. They're very dedicated, and it was amazing attention to detail. So how's that?
Too much.
Bit too much, is it?
No good, Mark.
No good? Oh, I'm entitled to one mistake, aren't I? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It is a normal warehouse that makes profit, but in this economic climate, if that's not working, then they need to get the funds from somewhere to keep it going. Without Wesley Mission, I'm just not sure where these people would go. This is their life. They're actually being productive within the community. They've got a sense of purpose. So how long have you been working here for?
About 33 years.
33 years, gee. It's a long
I
time.
started in 1976.
76, gee, I was still at school, so.
I had old friends here.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. So have you
since
made
the new people came,
Have you made any
I
new
made
friends?
friends with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
So really,
yeah.
I've got a lot of friends.
Yeah, yeah. My tour today in the warehouse has just reinforced my support for the Wesley Mission, and it's basically showed me that there is another area of ministry that the Wesley Mission are involved in that I didn't know about. And how's that?
Perfect. Excellent.
No worries.
Oh, actually, on the wrong side.
Wrong side, is it? Okay. I've chosen to leave a bequest to the Wesley Mission. The bequest basically is a lasting legacy, and that's what was foremost in my mind. And I wanted it to go to a ministry of purpose, a Christian ministry and a caring ministry. And Wesley Mission has that in so many various areas. Wesley Mission is a ministry that I trust. Thanks very much, Neil, for that.
that's all right.
Okay, and all the best with everything. You're doing
Yeah.
a good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I'm turning to Luke's Gospel, chapter 9, beginning at 51 through to about verse 62 in the end of the same chapter. I want to draw your attention to the fact that this is the start of a very long and significant journey in the Gospel. In fact, when you begin here at verse 51, you really have a journey that runs right the way through to verse 28 of chapter 19. But let me read to you verse 51. As the time approached for him to be taken up to heaven, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. Now, Luke wants us to see that Jesus is about to experience strong opposition. Opposition should not surprise us, because it happened to Jesus throughout the whole of his ministry. And for many, many people, there are great challenges in believing. We heard a little earlier about the challenges in the Middle East for many, many people who are Christians. But here, Jesus is preparing, and I love the fact that he sets out with determination. And the cross seems to be coming into view. The cross that will ultimately be the place where the love of God is displayed and shown to all the world. It comes into view from this quite earlier part in the Passion narrative. And Jesus is undoubtedly in control of the journey. Why else would it say that he resolutely set out for Jerusalem? It doesn't say he had to do this. He chose to do it. And he meets on the way would-be disciples. Now, there were would-be disciples all throughout the ministry of Jesus, but there are three particular would-be disciples, and Jesus questions their readiness. And some of these are the toughest words in the whole of the gospel. First of all, Jesus says it won't be easy. Somebody comes along and it says, I'll follow you wherever you go. You can almost hear them saying it in a way that says, this is, of course I'll do it. Who couldn't do it? It's that easy. But Jesus says it isn't easy. Foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And if it's that difficult for him, so it is more difficult for us too, because we may think it's easy, but it's not. And Jesus says his call lies before everything. Here's another tough one. Somebody comes along and says, Lord, first let me go and bury my father. Now, that's a reasonable kind of request, really, for somebody to say. How could we possibly think that was unimportant? But Jesus said to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God. Now, there's a danger here of taking these words in too literal a way and suggesting that we shouldn't be concerned about burying the dead or be concerned about our families. But the reality is here that Jesus says the call to follow him, the call to understand God's presence in our lives is something that really comes before everything. And then finally, in these three encounters with would-be disciples, still another, we're told in verse 61, says, I will follow you, Lord, but first let me go back home and say goodbye to all the family. Well, gosh, that's not an unreasonable request, is it? But Jesus says, and these are very striking words, no one who puts his hand to the plough and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. You see, Jesus calls for complete, unwavering commitment. And that really is true all the time. And the question we ask is this: are we ready for such a demand and such a call? We heard earlier about the call to serve in the Middle East. Whether it's in the Middle East or Australia, the UK, New Zealand, or anywhere that you might be sharing in this broadcast with us, all of us have to respond somehow. And we can come up as the would-be disciples did with all our reasons and our excuses, and some of them will be quite acceptable in our minds and in the minds of many others. But it is that sense of real demand. And in a way, when I turn the page back and I hear Jesus responding to the mission that was his to go all the way to the cross, I understand as the time approached for him to be taken up into heaven, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. So what he asks of others, what he asks of you and he asks of me, is what he himself did, resolutely, all the way to the cross. All for God's grace and God's love. Nothing could be more demanding than that.
If you would like to know more about today's topic or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
I hope you enjoyed meeting Kurt and hearing more about the church that's doing it tough. It's wonderful that Sat7 reaches out to those who must worship in difficult circumstances. They need our prayers amidst such troubled times. We leave you with Lee Cunningham and his song, Prayer for You. Until next week, goodbye and God bless you.
about you all the time, touched by the way you shine the light. You know you're always on my mind, I'm praying for you all the time, but words are hard to find. You know that it's not easy to express the love I feel for you, entrenched within my soul. If this will